Hello, everyone. This is Scott, host of Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. We truly believe that any organization is only as great as the people within that organization. In this special Meet the Team series, I will sit down one-on-one with every team member and learn more about their passions, interests, and what drives them to strive for excellence every day. We hope you enjoy getting to know us. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Ruminate This with Agrarian Solutions. I'm your host, Scott Zehr, and I am excited to have one more episode in the Meet the Team series today with somebody that I hold pretty near and dear to myself, one Kelly Bristle. And we're going to talk to Kelly and learn more about her and her role at Agrarian. And again, just continuing on this theme of Meet the Team with Agrarian Solutions, we're talking about our core values. If you're listening for the first time, our core values are RISE, R-I-S-E, and that is relational, integrity, strategic, and excellence. And Kelly, this Meet the Team series, my goal is to highlight the men and women within the organization, because at the end of the day, and people are probably getting sick of me saying this, B2B sales is a farce. I think it's a joke. I think it's a term that we use to broadly describe, like, I get it, business to business sales, but what about the people?
It's all about the people.
It's all about the people. And it's funny, as we've been talking about this, there's been a few of these episodes that have aired. I've spoke to people at different conferences I've been to throughout the last couple of months, nutrition conferences and so on. And I share with them my feelings about the joke that is B2B sales. And everybody says, yeah, it is a joke. And it's become this almost stigma in the business world. And I'll say it again, and everybody, I hope you don't tune out because I'm going to say this, but you show me a business that's ever done business with another business, and I will show you the Kelly Bristleys, the Nick Bradleys, the amazing men and women behind the scenes that actually make it happen. And that's what this is all about. And today, I know, Kelly, you probably prefer to work in the background more than
Yes.
anything else. So I do appreciate you being willing to come on the podcast and visit with us. So part of the reason I think a lot of people may not know Kelly Bristle, and in certain circles, a lot of people do know you. You have a great reputation within the AI industry for sure, but is because you work behind the scenes a lot. So first question is, who the heck is Kelly Bristle? And the second question I have for you is, what do you find rewarding about maybe working behind the curtain more so than on the front lines, like in a sales role or so on?
Okay. Yeah, I do enjoy being behind the scenes the most. That's where I enjoy to be. But who am I? First of all, I'm a person that I put my family first. So my family, whether it's my two girls, my dad, my brothers and sisters, they're the most important thing to me. And then from that, I've built, and because of them, I've been able to build a very nice career in agriculture. I grew up on a dairy farm in southeastern Michigan, so you can say I've been in the industry my entire life. Grew up milking cows, doing hay, all those things. And then at the urging of my parents, I went to college. I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but because of them, I did and got a degree in agriculture communications. And then after college, went to work for a cooperative, and I've been there for 35 years. I get to work with advertising, communications, anything that provides support to our sales staff, essentially. I'm involved in, as well as I work with customer care and our stock owner services, which is our member owners, the cooperative. So
Yep.
I love the variety that I have. I love the two things that I love the most about what I have ever gotten to do is the variety and the people. I have had some really great team members over the years. I've had some great leaders. Now, no organization's perfect. Not everybody knocks it out of the park for each individual person, but
Yeah.
in total, that's what it is. So I don't know. I think that's me. And it's because of that role that I've had that I met Agrarian Solutions 20 some years ago. I remember being in a meeting with some of the founding members, Dean Jessup, Chuck Howe, and they were talking to our organization about BioCycle Plus, DTX. And, we're working on developing a relationship with us. And I remember from that moment on, I have always held Agrarian Solutions in high regard. I've always said that they are one of the best, if not the best, partner to work with. They're not a vendor. They've never been a vendor to me. They were always a partner, always willing to explore ideas, always just, always there and supportive, and just a great group of people. Even after Dean and Chuck and Bob, I think was the other founding father, once they moved
Bob,
on.
yeah, Bob Kleinhexel, right?
There we go. Yes. Yep. Yep. And I worked closer with Dean and Chuck, and I don't know why that is. Maybe Bob wasn't in the area. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Was Bob maybe more West Coast?
Maybe.
I feel like that was the case.
Yeah. But even after they moved on and the next group of people, stepped in, I just have always felt, I've just always felt that way, that it is a great group of people, not to mention a great product line. But you can have the best product line in the world, and if you don't have good people, it really doesn't matter.
Oh man, yeah, that's so true. And it's funny as you were describing that, how Agrarian has impressed that on so many different people, right?
Mhm.
So I spent time working for an AI cooperative out here in the East Coast. And Kelly, I was there 7 years. Never, never thought about like leaving. I loved it there.
Right.
But I always said, like, if there was ever a company that I'd be willing to leave for, if the opportunity ever arose, it would have been Agrarian. And all of a sudden I get a phone call one day from Rob Hamaker, and here we sit today, and so it's weird how that, yeah, we both experienced that, where there was definitely something different about Agrarian. And I don't know if we really knew what it was back then, other than just good people. So there's two follow-ups I want to ask you, staying along that line of thought. You've been, I would say, very involved within the organization because you're an overachiever and need to have, more than one job like the rest of us.
Well, that's mostly because my girls are growing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But you've been involved with Agrarian on a, I would say, a professional level for over 20 years, but more intimately over the last like three and a half.
yeah. Yeah.
What have you seen within the last few years as you've worked closer with the team that either surprised you about Agrarian, or was it just like confirmation of what your gut feeling was for the last 20 some years?
I would say it was just confirmation of, and so I didn't have an opportunity to work with everybody at Agrarian until the past 3 years. So it wasn't just that Dan, so Dan and Chad and Rob would have been my closest contacts, really. It's not just them, it's everybody within the group that, has the same set of values. I think anybody that interacts with Agrarian, it doesn't matter which person it is on our team, should get the same type of level of commitment to doing the right thing, putting emphasis on relationships, putting emphasis on integrity and excellence. So yeah, and I guess I should have said, you're right. I've been working with Agrarian for 3 years, and I started in one area. It's slowly growing as Nick has asked, and I've been willing to say, okay. So, and it's not because I don't enjoy something. It's just, there's only so much time. And so that's why sometimes I have to say no, but no, the entire team, whatever my first, my initial feelings about the people of Agrarian, it applies to everyone on the team once I got to know everybody.
Yeah. So one of the other things you mentioned is some of the amazing teammates and leaders that you've had a chance to work with. So I'm gonna kind of ask you, like, from a mentor standpoint, you can mention them by name if you're comfortable, you don't have to, but who are maybe one or two mentors that they were very impactful on you more as a person, not just a career kind of thing. And what was so impactful? What did they do that was so impactful?
So I'm going to start with my parents, which probably sounds a little cliche, but I'm sure there are folks out there that can't say their parents were mentors. And that's, I feel bad for them. But our parents, my parents really, they taught us work ethic, they taught us drive, they taught us honesty, really helped us understand what's really important in life.
Hmm.
So, of course, they have been wonderful mentors for me on a professional standpoint. One of my former general managers, Gary Smith, and I'll name him right out. He's a phenomenal leader. I credit him for helping me grow into some of the strengths that I have that I didn't know I had or I didn't know how to use them. So he had done a phenomenal job. And he was one of those people that could get up in front of the group and energize them and get you excited. And you wanted to follow him. You wanted to, and he had to grow into that role. He wasn't like that when he started. And, I watched him also grow and develop, but yeah, he definitely had a huge impact on me. I don't know if I would call them mentors, but I would definitely say they're inspirational to me, and that is my girls. My oldest daughter has ventured off into her own business and just isn't afraid to embrace anything.
Yeah.
She has a podcast now, she does some virtual training, but then she also meets one-on-one with people. If there's a growth opportunity, she takes it. And such a positive person, such a positive person. And then my other daughter is such a risk taker. She a risk taker and very goal oriented. When she was in high school, she's like, well, I want to do this, this, and this. And she did. She secured scholarships to go out of state to college. She wanted to be in New York for her career. So that's where she's at, and she'll say, oh, that's not a big deal. And a lot of us are like, oh, no, that's a really big deal because it's kind of scary. So they're definitely inspiration for me to not, they help me maybe get out of my lane a little bit. It's pretty easy for me to want to stay in my lane. I don't like to not be good at something. So sometimes I struggle to take on some new things like this. So yeah.
Eh, yeah. Yeah. You know, I think your girls learned that from somebody, and I think they had a pretty good role model with you for sure. And I think you're probably harder on yourself than what we see, because as you and I started working together a few years ago on another training platform that we do, when you started doing some of the background work for us, you said it. You were like, I need slow bits and pieces. And you took off little chunks and you started doing it. And then when we said, hey, we think we're going to start a podcast, you were like, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in. So, yes, I've seen that for sure.
Yeah, so as I learn things, it's really important that our team has grace, and everybody does. And we need to extend that grace to each other, whether we're learning something new or going through something difficult. So, yeah, that makes it easier for me to raise my hand on new stuff more and more often. And knowing that the Agrarian team is like that just makes it easier.
Yeah, that whole grace thing is one that really hit me today, where I just need to extend a little grace. It was a very frustrating thing that happened, but I had to remind myself of the Young Dairy Leader Institute training that I had. And one of the speakers, a guy named Galen Emanuel, and he put us all like in the room together. There was 100 and some or 70 some students there. And you're familiar with improv comedy. So the number one rule of improv is grace, because you're making it up as you go. So if you throw out a situation And the next person, if you throw a scenario to somebody, their response has to be yes, and so they can build on it. But they maybe aren't fully understanding where you're trying to go with the improv. And so they might get it wrong. And improv doesn't work without grace, because when they throw it back to you, you have to roll with it, whatever direction it's going. And it was a good lesson. And I think if I look back over the years, different times where I was probably harder on people than I needed to be, and not like verbally, like calling you up and chewing you out kind of thing, but you're just like, I'm going to just not deal with that person anymore. And that's not professional either.
Well, and I don't always extend grace. I see it as a very valuable thing. And I struggle with it because my number one strength through Strengths Finder is focus, which means I get a lot of things done because I keep people moving forward.
Yes, you do.
So
And I'm
sometimes,
just so everybody knows, I'm one of those people.
but we're good. But so sometimes, and I will get criticized for being too direct or too pushy. In my world, if I don't keep moving things forward, we're not going to make progress. And
Right.
So while I talk about grace, Scott, I know I am no expert at it. I know that I have to work on it for myself also, but it's part of what makes the Agrarian team so great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if we have time before we're done, I'll tell a little story about Kelly. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned the different teammates you've had over the years and some of the leaders. What does a successful team look like to you?
It's one you have to be able to trust. You have to be able to trust what people say, what they say they're going to do. And once trust is broken, it's really hard. It's really hard for me to give trust back. But so you have to have trust among your teammates. You got to have some fun. You got to have some fun working together. Hopefully you have different strengths so that you can build off each other and create something better than what an individual could do. And I have found that the teams that I like to be involved in, they include a variety of people that have different strengths. There are people that I trust to have my back in any situation. And they'll hold their end of the whatever it is that we're doing. If they commit to something, they're going to do it. So
That's powerful to me, and for a number of reasons. And I guess now is as good a time to ever to tell people this story. But when Kelly talks about her strength being focus, and she's able to get things done. And I did actually share this with Kelly, so I'm not totally blindsiding her on camera, but I had a mentor, Kelly, named Pete Pear, and he was my first supervisor when I went to work for Premier Select Sires. And I always gave Pete the credit of teaching me how to be a professional. And as time has gone on and my roles and responsibilities have changed to where I'm not doing sales 100% of the time, like customer facing sales 100% of the time anymore. We're doing the podcast. We have another platform we do training on for some other folks. And there's office work that I now have to do that I hate doing. I like coming up with the ideas for the podcast and the content. But after I have the idea, I don't even like to put it on paper for everybody else to do their job, but I have to. And when I don't get it done, who does it affect? It affects Kelly and a lot of other people, but you first and foremost is who it affects. And Kelly taught me how to be a more professional. And so for that, I am very thankful to you and very grateful for you to have been able to impress that upon me.
Well, you're welcome. I didn't mean to do it. I came through as probably direct and overbearing, but
But
we have a very good system because I can't do what you do, nor do I really want to do it. And so I think we complement each other perfectly.
Yeah.
I just absolutely believe that.
Yeah, we do. And I give Rob a ton of credit He's like the genie behind the curtain, so to speak. And I'm going to try like hell to get him on this podcast, but he doesn't like being in front of the camera, but I think he will come around. But Kelly, do you remember going to Canada for the Agrarian Sales Conference? Like, I'm going to say was it 2018?
I don't remember when it was, but I
20,
do remember. Yep, you were there.
2017.
Yep,
And so, the agrarian team had gotten together over in Niagara Falls on the Canadian side for their annual sales meeting. And Rob invited other people outside of the agrarian organization to attend that meeting. And it was you, Jamie Peth, myself, Jeff Hostetter, and Mark Carpenter. This is going back now like 8 years. Since then, Mark Carpenter is now our CEO.
yep,
I'm working 100% for Agrarian. Jeff Hostetter is now a dual employee between Premier and Agrarian Solutions. Kelly's basically a dual employee between a cooperative and us. And then Jamie Peth, she's the one that gets, you guys met her when she interviewed me. I give her all the credit for this. She's the original mastermind behind the online training platform that you and I work together on.
yep.
And that's what led into, after 3 years of doing that, we said, you know what? Maybe we should expand our audience. And this is now Ruminate This.
Rob
I
was the mastermind behind that.
I find that scenario to be so interesting. The foresight for him to bring us 5 people there. And now, yeah, now we're all part of the team. So it's an
and
interesting,
and Agrarian's growing even more. There's even
yeah,
more team members, So yeah, it's crazy how the organization has grown. It's great.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked you the question, who is Kelly? And I think that's kind of a fun question I get to ask everybody. It wasn't so fun when Jamie asked it to me for my Meet the Team series. So thanks for playing along. But going maybe a little lighter, what are some of the things you would like to do for fun? Like, you are a very high performing individual. You get a lot of work done. I see emails coming from you at all hours of the night. And what does Kelly do for fun?
I love to spend time with family and friends. Absolutely. Let's get together and go out and see the Christmas lights or something. My dad and I travel together, and that's really cool. He had to convince me about the value of driving somewhere because I'm like, let's just get on a plane. We'll get there. And no, he did make a believer out of me. We drove out west. We saw Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse and Yellowstone. And we were in Montana, and pictures don't do any of it, what you see in
Um,
person, justice. And while that's wonderful, the time spent together in the car, just talking or being quiet or whatever it is just, it's invaluable. So for fun, I like to spend time with my family and friends. I like to be outside. I love the sun. Michigan is not for me, but my family for generations is here. Like, we're that family when there's a wedding, your fourth and fifth cousins are there. As a matter of fact, there may not be a lot outside of your family pool until you get to the side that you're marrying. And in December, our family always gets together with my dad's brothers and sister. And so then my first cousins, and then the second cousins and the third cousins. And we rent a town hall to do that. And I think that that's really cool and special to be able to get to do that. So, and I like to travel, wherever. I've been to London. My youngest loves to travel internationally, and she's really good to her mom, and she pulls her along on things. And so, I enjoy doing that. And any chance that I get, I leave the cold weather and get somewhere warm. So love to
so
read. Yeah.
where's the most unique or special place you've traveled?
Hmm. Well, I think London, because aside from going to Mexico and Canada, London has been my first big international trip. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go there someday. Someday.
It's pretty cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. We're
Um,
talking about going to Christmas markets in Europe one year. Like, oh, that could be really cool.
that yeah, that sounds good. That sounds pretty cool. Kelly, just to circle back to the livestock industry quickly, what do you find special about the ag industry? If you were going to share a message to somebody outside of agriculture about us, about ag, what to you is special about it?
Well, there's a couple things. Both of them relate to people, though. So, and no, Scott, you did not pay me to say these things to buy into the people to people business. You did not. I
Yeah.
believe this fully. One of the things that's special is that you get to provide products and services or solutions to some of the hardest working, most honest, and kind people there are. Everybody has a bad day. You're going to run across a grumpy person once in a while,
Yep.
but it makes it, when you look at the work that goes into it, the love that the producer puts into it, they wouldn't be out in the cold with 5,000 cows, 500 cows, or 50 cows if they didn't have a passion for taking care of animals and providing food and goods for consumers. They wouldn't do it. So what's special is you get to serve some of the greatest people in the world, in my opinion. And then the other part of that is you get to work alongside people that are some of the best. That a lot of them have the same background or upbringing that we have, or the same interests. And so it just makes it really easy to create relationships and be excited and want to work together to make something better. So sometimes I think people think, how could you stay at a job for 35 years? When you think about how people switch jobs, I have
Yeah.
a best friend and she has changed jobs enough times for both of us, but nothing is the same for me on any given day, whether it's for Agrarian Solutions or my other work. Nothing's the same and it changes constantly. And so imagine the change that I've got to see over 35 years. It was actually pretty funny. We, celebrated my 35 years and we talked about what it looked like when I started, just in the technology side, and
Oh,
what it
wow.
is today. Yeah. So, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, makes you sound like you're old, but I've just gotten to see a lot of really cool things happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say get into agriculture if you want to be with people who care. You want to work with them. You want to serve, provide products and services to them. Because I've seen some other industries and there's a lot of businesses that they don't care. A lot of other industries that don't care. So I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned that, Kelly. I was the first part of December, I was at the New York State Farm Bureau annual convention, and you get to visit with, farmers from all different types of ag industries, from microbreweries to dairy farmers to poultry folks to whatever. It's all there. And we were discussing the one night a little bit of how agriculture has changed, but one of the things that I mentioned is the perception of agriculture to the public. And I think it's lost on people sometimes that, and you hit the nail right on the head, like the passion that drives these folks
Yeah.
is unreal. I think I've shared this sentiment before, but there's two industries that our country can't survive without. We wouldn't be a country if we didn't have our military to defend us. And if we didn't have agriculture, if we didn't have farmers, we wouldn't have anybody to feed those soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is so cool about whenever I get a chance to talk to veterans or active duty soldiers, I'll share that sentiment with them. And I usually ask the little gotcha question, who's more important? Our men and women in the military always say the farmers. You know what the farmers say? The military.
Military. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you know, the drive and commitment to make something a healthy product, I think we could go into a long discussion of food quality in our country, but I think a lot of the degradation of the quality of our food from a health standpoint comes from people that care about making money. And oftentimes it's somebody that's in between the person that's growing the food and the person that's consuming the food. So we don't want to get too far into the weeds on that today, but yeah, thank you so much for saying that. It was on full display that first week of December where all these farmers getting together and just the room was alive.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I can only imagine. And we didn't even say a thing about the knowledge and how the knowledge level has to grow every day and the challenges that the producers face. And I mean, they're the ultimate multitasker, and from environmental issues to production issues to reproduction to crops, it's crazy to think how much they have to know. And so being an ag, hopefully you can become a trusted partner to them and provide them with information that they need or help them with the data that they have so that they can do the things that they need to do and make the decisions they need to make.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up, Kelly, I want to ask you this. If you had the opportunity to talk to somebody, maybe one-on-one, is thinking about getting into the ag industry, what are a few things that you would tell them to keep in mind as being kind of like keys to success for having a long, successful career in ag?
I would say, first of all, I think, and even for myself, ag is so much bigger than just the producers we work with at Agrarian. We work with dairy, beef, poultry, swine. That's a big sector, but there are so many other sectors. So I would encourage anyone to look at all the different sectors that are out there, whether it's a winery, whether
Yep.
there are a maple business, whatever it is, it all falls into agriculture. And do some legwork and learn about some of these other industries. So I would say that would be part of it. I would also say, as you're looking at organizations to join, meet their people and find out, are they the kind of folks that I could see myself hanging out with? Not that that's what you would necessarily do, but if you're not comfortable around them, it's probably not going to work out the best, because we spend a lot of time with the people we work with. We have to be comfortable with them. So spend time getting to know folks in the organizations. Ask questions of other people in the industry. Hey, I'm thinking about going to work for Agrarian Solutions. What do you guys know about Scott Zehr? What do you know about Jeff? What do you know about Rob? Ask some questions and find out what other people have to say. I think that goes a long way. Don't get hung up on, well, I just want to work here. I just want to go to work for this company. This is the best company in the world, whatever it is. Well, if their values don't align with yours, that could be problematic. So, take the time to do that.
That's a pretty big mouthful right there, though. I think that's, what you're basically telling us is take time to get to know who you're going to work for, not what company you're working for, right?
Yes.
The people.
So many times I think folks, but it's different for everybody, and that's okay. But don't get hung up on your title. Don't get hung up on your title. It's okay to have a goal and want to be director of marketing or the chief financial officer, whatever it is. But don't get hung up on that. If you find an organization that you like, you see that it has the people that you want, the type of people that you want, it's serving the type of customers that you want, and the job looks like it's something that you would be interested in, but maybe it's not your ultimate goal, well, go ahead and do it, because every day we're interviewing with our employer. Every day, Scott, I'm interviewing with Agrarian Solutions. Every day,
Yep.
I'm making an impression, a good one or a bad one. And as we do a good job, we can grow our responsibilities. And that's really what's most important. And if you focus on growing your skill sets and your responsibilities, your title will come. If it's really important to you, you will get the title that you want. But I see too many people get hung up on the title. And I often, very seldom, actually, not often, very seldom will you hear me say what my title is, because it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
No.
I'd rather explain to you what it is that I do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm behind the scenes. I try to provide the support that's necessary so that the people out front can be successful. And when they're successful, then I feel like I've been successful.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something when I started out in my professional career in 2013, I was an AI technician. Well, that doesn't sound very fun. Doesn't sound like a sexy kind of job, and it's not. But if you take the approach, if you buy into that job title stuff, had I bought into, like, I was an AI technician, my job description was to AI cattle, and the original AI, artificial insemination, but that was my job description. What wasn't reflected in the title was the things that you don't have to go to college to take to your job or take to your career: the attitude, the work ethic, the being a good person, the caring, and the trusting. And because I took that approach and didn't worry about the job title, yeah, I'd be hard pressed. And it wasn't all me. Like, I had a lot of good mentors, as I mentioned, but that first job I had in industry, it was way more than just breeding cows.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved with making genetic selection criterias and picking out the next generation of studs for the bulls that we're going to breed cows to. Those are decisions that impact that farm on the dairy and or beef side for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
not easily undone. And you can call it an entry level position all you want, but it's anything but. But if I know people, I worked with people that I'm just an AI tech,
There's
or
no such thing.
I'm just a this or just a that. I'm glad you brought up the title thing, because that's something that I think, you look across the table and the fancy CEO title or whatever. Fun quick story. My maple business that we have up here, we have 3 owners, and we were looking at getting some lending here recently, and they asked for the titles of the owners. And I'm like, well, we're the owners.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who manages the day-to-day business? Oh, that's me. So you're the CEO. I guess I wouldn't consider myself a CEO, but
But if you need me to be on paper, sure.
yeah, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we all
Right.
just do whatever we have to do to get the job done. And yeah,
Yeah.
so great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice.
I have great respect for so many of those, of the folks who have the titles that maybe, somebody doesn't want. Well, I don't want to be an AI technician, or I don't want to be a DHI specialist. That's not fancy enough or special enough. Those folks are in the trenches every day. They're doing things, like you said, that are making an impact for years to come. They got to think on their feet. They got to know farms the same. I mean, it might be the way somebody starts in a business, but it's so much more than that. So yeah, make up your own. If titles are important, just make up your own.
Yeah.
But be, Interview every day, do the things that help you grow as an individual and help you be successful, the company that you work for be successful, and the customers that you serve be successful.
That's the mic drop moment, everybody, right there. Kelly, I'll take you off the hot seat. And everybody, if you found value in today's call, share the episode with a friend. I think Kelly had some really great insights and some of the things she talked about that I'm going to say they're probably going to be reels on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, YouTube for us. So yeah, Kelly, appreciate you taking time out of your day today. And again, if you found value in today's podcast call, share it with a friend. Hit the share button, type in somebody's phone number, send it to them. Maybe it's a young professional in the ag space or not even in agriculture. Like that advice that applies to anybody that's out there looking, to make a move in their career. So
Yes.
with that,
Yep.
Kelly, I thank you very much. And we will talk to everybody again next week.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. If you found value in today's podcast, please hit subscribe and share. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.